What's up, everybody? We back. R2C2, little bonus episode.
Couldn't have the World Series end and not have an episode, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially it was a good one. We got a good series.
Yeah, it was a good series. Now, what games did you end up going to of the series, C?
I was at game 1 and 2.
Got you.
In Houston. So that was the game. Real Muto hit the home run late.
Yep.
Verlander was dealing early. I feel like he sped their bats up. I feel like he got in trouble with a little bit of his off speed in that game 1. Ended up giving up the 5-run lead. And then game 2 was the Valdez game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at those first 2 games.
Hey, Valdez could have been the World Series MVP as well.
Absolutely. You know? He dealt.
Guy won 2 games, as a starter in the World Series. Was amazing in game 2, was great in game 6. He's nasty, man. Their whole rotation. It's interesting, see. The Astros were, obviously, for anyone who is a Yankee fan, the most hated team you've had around in a long time, right? Especially after everything that was unearthed in the aftermath of the 2017 loss. But we talked about it from the second they hired Dusty Baker, how much we revere him, how he was the perfect hire, and this sort of interesting internal feeling of you'd be happy for Dusty if they won, even if you're rooting against this team that's become your mortal enemy. And it was incredible to see how many Yankees fans I've heard from, talked to last couple days, talk about, I'm so happy for Dusty. How many Giants fans who saw him come to the brink, I'm so happy for Dusty. How many baseball fans in general, I'm so happy for Dusty. And my most prevalent feeling after this World Series is, I'm so happy for Dusty.
Yeah, and I think that was a sentiment for everybody, and especially in Houston. You can see it right after, and the guys coming up and running to him and saying, we did this for you. And I think he was the only guy that could have pulled them out of what they were in, in 2017. And I don't think that when he was hired to be the Astros manager, I don't think that people thought that they were good enough to win another World Series. You know what I'm saying? Or even go back to the World Series. Because, Springer was leaving, Correa was on his way out this year, all these different things. So
Cole.
I don't think people, Cole left. I don't think people really gave them, World Series or, this type of aspiration. So to see them be able to, maintain this great run that they've been on with the rookie shortstop, with McCormick in center field, getting Alvarez out in left field. It's crazy to watch.
Their organization right now is something that everybody should be aspiring to duplicate, emulate, get as close as they can to trying to be what they are. I mean, if you think about it, what you just said, see, this is a team that lost Springer, Correa, Cole, revamped the entire bullpen, didn't miss a beat, maybe got better. It's unbelievable.
But what's crazy too is that they drafted Springer, they drafted Correa, they got Altuve, Kyle Tucker's homegrown, McCormick, Alvarado, Bregman. They're home. All these guys are homegrown. Jeremy Peña talked about last night that being in the organization and winning the championship his first year in rookie ball and just the expectation of winning. You know what I'm saying? Like they've done it top to bottom in a way that I think everybody's trying to mimic. I know we always talk about the Dodgers system and how great it is, and they can just trade off players and but it don't result in World Series. And
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just haven't played out the way it's playing out for these guys in Houston, and you have to give them so much credit because of the way that they raised all this homegrown talent. It is, just kind of is what it is. And you have to give them credit for letting Jeremy Peña go out and play.
Yes.
And letting him go out and play shortstop all year and didn't care on a championship caliber team.
Yep.
That's something I feel like we won't ever do here in the Bronx.
Yeah. Well, it was something we talked about, right? Where
it's something that they did in 1996, and look how that shit played out, right? But it's something that they won't do since that guy named Derek Jeter did it in 1996.
Right. Like, who knows what you might have ended up having with Peraza if he had been up the entire year. You know, I mean, like
not even up the entire year. Just when you knew you weren't going to trade him at the deadline, then bring him up.
Yeah.
Let him play 2-3 days a week, and if he can handle that, then he's a fucking shortstop.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the one. If there was one real miss from the season, like personnel-wise, because yes, like the injuries to DJ and Benintendi destroyed the Yankees.
Destroyed the Yankees.
Destroyed
the lineup.
It destroyed the lineup. And you kind of heard Boone and Cash talking about it this week when they did their press conferences. And look, people like to say like, oh, you know, like don't make excuses, whatever. But the reality is those were devastating injuries to the lineup. Devastating, especially DJ, but also Benintendi because of what he brought that was different from what they had elsewhere, which was, you know, contact on base, all of that. So yeah, those were absolutely destructive injuries to the lineup. But outside of those injuries, if you were going to look at one thing kind of like just positional player wise that you look at, you say they absolutely should have made it viable to be playing Peraza at short every day in the playoffs.
Okay, so it's not even just Peraza, it's just the young guys just in general. Whenever we have the, like, is it like Jason Dominguez, like when he's ready, bring him the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let these kids play, man. Like the shit pays off. Well, these guys are well prepared and ready. And you know, I mean, you can't speak enough about what Jeremy Peña was for these guys.
Hey,
in that lineup.
How about the example of Cano? Like the last time I could think of where it was like, oh wow, this came out of nowhere. Like you weren't hearing like, oh, Robbie Cano is on the brink of making the major league. Nothing like that. And granted, you know, okay, you know, there was a little less attention around it then than there is, you know, in today's hyper information age, but still, it wasn't like, you know, he was finished developing in the minors at that point. It was, this guy's really good. We have a problem. We think he can help us. Let's see. Lo and behold, he's amazing. He comes up, you know, Tony Womack had been struggling. And from that moment forward, he is, you know, at the center of the Yankees ended up going to the playoffs in 2005 when, if he doesn't get called up, they probably miss the playoffs.
And you know what's crazy is that none of us are ready for the big leagues. When you're, if you under 25 and you ain't go to college, cuz you ain't ready for the fucking big leagues.
Yeah,
you're just not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you got a mature kid and you feel like they can handle the rigor of the season, throw his ass up there. And if you got good culture and you got the right vets around him, it'll work out. Like, I was nowhere near ready to be a big league pitcher cuz at 20 years old.
Yeah.
Nowhere near, cuz.
Yeah.
But I had the vets. I had Burba. I had Chuck Finley. I had Ellis Burks. I had Matt Lawton. I had these different guys that could, like, bring me along. So it's up to you and your organization to be able to have these type of guys that can help you fucking develop your young talent. You're talking about Derek Jeter. You talk about Cecil Fielder and, you know, Darryl Strawberry, the guys that
Tim Raines,
fucking Gerald Williams. Like, these guys helped him, man. Like, so it's the culture, and the Astros have that culture.
Man, what the Astros have done is just, it's incredible. It's funny. There is, I think, there's a part of me, and I've talked about this before, that as a sports fan, I like there to be the sports universe set in its proper balance. And, you know, one of the examples I can use of that is LeBron James when he didn't have a championship, you know? Like, even though it was fun rooting against him with the Heat after he went there, and like, there was, you know, such vitriol for that team. And I can remember initially, even myself, like, I rooted harder against that Heat team than any team I'd ever rooted against before. I never rooted against teams, but I rooted against that one.
You were in New York, or you thought he was coming to New York?
Probably, yes, probably,
yeah. Everybody in New York was pissed because they thought he was coming to New York.
Honestly, it probably was that.
And then y'all was all mad because he made Jay-Z fly out there. Y'all gonna make Jay-Z fly out there?
Oh my gosh, can't do Jay like that. When everyone left the room and it was just him and Jay. Remember that was one of the reports from the meeting. I was like, oh no, that's where he's telling Jay like, hey, I'm not coming, but you know, but even then, when they finally won, I felt a level of satisfaction because I felt like, yes, like the sports universe is into balance. You know, that's how it should be. Felt that way when they won the championship in Cleveland as well with LeBron, because like that needed to happen. Yes, you know, and then there's also an element of respect where it's like, even if you rooted against someone or some team forever, if they win over and over and over again, there's a part of you that just ends up being like, okay, uncle,
no, that's not
you don't
true.
feel that way?
No, I 1,000% feel that way, but you don't feel that way about Tom Brady.
Yes, I do.
No,
that's the example. I rooted for Tom Brady with the Bucks. I did.
Okay.
I rooted for that's actually the example. I rooted against him all those years with the Pats, always, right? And then he won the final one with New England, and I realized, like, against the Rams, and I realized I had this feeling inside where I was just like, I didn't feel a searing like hatred anymore. I didn't feel angry anymore. I just felt like, yeah, you know what? He really is the GOAT, and there's nothing else you can say. And then I ended up rooting for him with Tampa because I was like, oh, I want him to, like, get the 7th, like, do it without Belichick. I kind of was motivated by that.
I had that with Peyton Manning. I had to like.
Peyton was my guy.
I didn't like Peyton.
You rooted against him?
I rooted against him hard, like, because I just felt like everything was like handed to him. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I didn't know him. I just outside looking in. So it just seemed like they just anointed him. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, nah, the guy in fucking New England is actually the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? So it took me a while to actually appreciate Peyton Manning and, you know, his greatness just because of the same way. Just because I rooted against him.
Yeah.
So.
Right. It's funny. I rooted against Tom because I was a Peyton guy. And I was always like, Peyton is so clearly better. And I would come up with my arguments. And then also because it was at the height of Yankees Red Sox, and I didn't want Boston fans winning championships. Yeah.
You know where my Peyton hate came from? Because I kind of grew up a Florida Gators fan, which is odd, watching college football. But like those Danny Werfel years, like I always wanted him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was around the same time as Peyton Manning was there. So it was funny. So it was always like Florida, Tennessee, these big games, and I was always rooting for Florida. So
that's how it developed, and then you carried it into the NFL.
I just carried it into the NFL.
Yeah, it's funny. But what's interesting is what happened with you, it sounds like, and what's happened with me in those circumstances is the players, the teams, they're so great. At some point, you just say, wow, tip the hat. And that's how I feel about the Astros, I feel like the hatred is pointless because they're so great. And what they've done is amazing. And what they've also done is, I believe, they've validated everything they did up until this point, including 2017. Not to say that their, cheating didn't play a significant role in 2017, because, clearly it very well may have, right? But I think there's going to be a different feeling now. If that was the only championship, if they never won again, you're going to say, well, like, you don't even look at it. Because they won again, I think it validates it. I think anybody who was feeling a little weird about having that 2017 ring on their finger, now all of a sudden feels a lot better about wearing it now that they've done it again.
Yeah, I think, we said that, you know what I'm saying? And I think we even said that in the moment. Like, if they don't ever win another one, then, you know what I'm saying? And this is the worst shit ever. But the fact that they just keep getting back, and they went back last year, and they were in the ALCS in 2020, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even, even on the podcast, Correa was like, what they gonna say? I said, we gonna say you fucking cheated.
Yeah,
won again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They fucking won again. So, what you want to say? What you want to say?
Yeah, now, nothing to say. That's how you go and do it. That's how you go and validate what you've done. And I think the other thing it does, it sets a standard for everyone else to chase, that's the dragon you have to try and slay. You got to figure out, what are they doing with their pitching development, with their player development, that these guys come up and they're so ready, not just to succeed through the course of the season, but to succeed at the biggest moments. They have guys who come through with the big hit. They have pitchers who find a way to keep you off the board for inning after inning after inning. However, maybe there's a psychological component as well, the way they're developing guys. But clearly, they are ticking all the boxes when it comes to getting players prepared to win in October.
Yeah, and like you said, we just keep talking about the guys, developing players and all this stuff. They got Framber Valdez from the DR late. I think he was 18. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields. But they were on him before he signed with the Dodgers. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, these little Jeremy Peña, University of Maine, big leaguer son. Like, I really root for that kid just because I see his story in my fucking son. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's cool to see like these college players coming in the game and developing at this rate. But it ain't really nothing else to say.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And to go back to Dusty, for a moment, think about this. 55 years in the game. He had 3,884 regular season games, 97 in the playoffs, all those seasons playing, managing, couldn't quite get the ring. As close as you can get. Think about 2002 World Series. Think about being up 6-0 in Game 6. Looks like you're absolutely going to win. Bonds at the peak of his powers, and the Angels pull off one of the greatest comebacks of all time and then win Game 7. And here he is at 73 years old, becomes the oldest manager to win it. And it takes a special person, to have everybody's immediate first thought be, I'm happy for that guy. You think about that journey, and I know that each one of those losses came with, probably just incredible pain along the way and wondering, okay, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? But now, how much sweeter does it make this moment for Dusty that he went through all of that?
Yeah, going through all of those tough times with the not tough times, going to the World Series with the Giants and, having the Nationals years, but finally breaking through, man. 25 years of, he's got a championship as a player. He's done so many great things on and off the field. It's hard to put in words like, for me, what Dusty means to me, because he's such a part of my journey. You know what I'm saying? And still to this day, I saw him, before BP games 1 and 2, gave him a big hug, told him I love him. We're proud of each other, and it's just awesome to see, man. For me, I just can't wait to see him in Cooperstown. You know what I'm saying? Like when he gets inducted and the party is going to be and it's great. It's great to see.
I should know this, so I'm almost a little embarrassed to ask it, but when it comes to managers, can you be inducted while you're an active manager, or does there still have to be some post-retirement period?
I think you have to post-retire and then the guys come back. Because he got in and then he came back, right? Okay,
yeah. And
I don't know if there's been any other guys.
Joe got in after he stopped with the Dodgers, Torey?
I think, did Joe get in as a player, cuz?
No, he got in as a manager. But, maybe they also took into account his playing, but
so then that
but he wasn't in before he was managing.
No, so it had to be after he was playing, because the induction is during the season.
Let me see. You mean have to be after he was done managing?
After he was done managing.
Yeah. Let me see what
he got done managing in 2014?
Oh, did he manage the Dodgers that long? Maybe he did. No, that long?
Was it that long?
I don't think it was that long. He got inducted in 2014.
Oh, he got inducted. So he was done in.
Let's see. When was he?
2000.
When was he done with?
9. He was still the manager of the Dodgers when I was a free agent.
Yeah, well, because 08 was his first year there.
Yeah.
And he had a few years there. So maybe 12? Let's see. 10. Only 3 years. 08 to 2010. That was it. And then he got into the Hall of Fame in 2014.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's any waiting period like there is for players. You are eligible, in 24, right? 5 years?
5 years, I think. So
yeah.
But is it 25 because I retired in 19? I don't, bro.
No, I think it's 24. I think it's 5 years.
You want to vote on the Hall of Fame. You know this shit.
I don't get a vote. I wish I did. I think 5. I think the 5. Well, for you, it's definitely 5 years. But I think the 5 years is you stop playing in 19, you're eligible in 24. It's possible. Okay. Let's have Atta look that up. It's possible you're eligible in 25. I think you're eligible in 24. But see, I Yeah, I just feel so happy for him, and I wanted to share this with you. So the other night I'm doing Timberwolves. Friday night I was doing Timberwolves Bucks with Van Gundy, and Jeff is a huge Astros fan. He's a big sports. He's like you. Like he's a big sports fan for all the other, sports that he doesn't coach or whatever. Yeah. And even the one he covered, he consumes the NBA every single night. But I was asking him, like, do you get nervous as a sports fan? Because he's like a huge Georgia football fan because his oldest daughter went there. He is a massive Texans fan. He's a huge, huge Astros fan. And he just said, he's like, I don't get that nervous. He's like, I'm nervous for Dusty. He's like, that's who I'm nervous for. He's like, I want this for Dusty. And we ended up during the broadcast, we did a couple minutes then on Dusty. And he was like, Dusty Baker was a great athlete. And I was like, yes, actually, CC and I had him on the pod recently, and he was telling us how he always wanted to be a basketball player. And if not for feeling like he needed to go make money right away, he probably would have pursued basketball in college, had multiple scholarships.
And I'm sure Jeff knew of Dusty or heard of Dusty because kind of from the same area.
Same area. Yeah.
Well, I was telling about Martinez, and Dusty grew up in Sac.
And I was telling about his camps, and how influential they were. And
what's crazy? I was thinking about the camp, oddly thinking about the camps this morning. The camps were awesome. The parties that we had at the hotels, because the camp was 2 weeks long.
That's good.
Bro, it was sick. The pool was
that's great. How old are you partying like this?
Huh?
How old were you partying like this?
13 through 16. I went for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was just so much fun running up and down the halls of Holiday Inn, like at the pool. Like, I don't know why I thought about that memory today, but it just brought
that's so fun, man.
It was super cool.
You remember how fun that used to be if like you had like a road tournament with your baseball team? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can also picture like jumping in the pool at a Holiday Inn, man.
With the football, with the footballs and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Throwing, jumping in the water, catching.
Yeah.
I mean, no responsibility then. What a life. What a life. Just
what
unbelievable.
A fucking life. Take me back.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Maybe that's what heaven is. See, you just get to like, what if you just got to like choose different moments in your life and be like, I want to relive that. Like an on-demand replay system.
That'd be sick.
That'd be sick, right? That would be sick. What's the first thing you could think of that you would replay?
The first, probably Lil C's birth.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Probably my kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the start of my family, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up with a big family.
Yeah.
But this is the start of like my branch of my family. So
yeah,
those were emotional times. Every time I saw my kid being born, I cried like a baby.
Yeah, man. I get it, dude. I get it. I like same thing for me. Obviously, I have one right now with Evie, but it's funny. The first thing I thought of that I would replay is like, I don't know how old Evie was, maybe like 5 months. And Andrea and I were sitting on the play mat with her, and I just like made this noise. It's funny, Andrea's over there and she like shaking her head yes, because she knows the moment I'm talking about. I just like made this little noise like with my hand. I went like that, and she just started cracking up. And it was the first time she like belly laughed. And I had been traveling like crazy. And so it was like a Sunday where we were finally all home together. And I just kept going, and she was losing it. Like, like that straight out of Central Casting baby laugh. And like, it was so magical that Andrea and I started crying. Like, that's how incredible her laugh was. And like, if you were asking me, like, what's the first moment you'd want to replay, it'd be that,
That's awesome.
It is amazing what you just said, though, right? Like when you start your own family, it's like this really interesting, purposeful feeling that you just carry with you constantly then.
Yeah, it is. And growing up in a big family, I always wanted my own branch of, you know what I mean? Like the holidays this year, we got 30 people coming, but like, even if not, like I got a house full, like, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's always constantly people here. There's kids here all the time. Like this house is full with like love and laughter and just people running up and down. And that's always what I wanted. And just to be able to have that on my own here with my own branch of the Sabathia family, it's something special.
Hey, it must mean something about Dusty that somehow talking about him brings us to these beautiful memories, huh? It's a credit to him. We'll have to try and get him back on at some point. For our audience, though, if you haven't listened to the recent pod with Dusty or with Rob Thomson or what we just aired last week with Theo Epstein going through all the rule changes with baseball, the rule changes that could still come, the things they tested and scrapped, definitely go back and listen. You are going to love that pod. As far as Rob goes, he did an amazing job. And I do think there's some commonality that's sort of encouraging for the old school lover of baseball, seeing Rob and Dusty be the managers to guide their teams to this moment, to October success. Two guys who very much welcome information, but also know, as Joe Torre likes to say, the game has a heartbeat. And they kind of know how to balance that.
Yeah, absolutely. And two guys that can connect with their players, whether they're younger, old, pitchers, position players, whatever it is, that both of those guys, Tomper connects with that team and can get that team rallied around them and, get them going. Like, I was there for their stretch during game 2.
Yeah.
And he just makes you feel comfortable. Like, you can go to him and have a conversation about anything. And that's rare for a manager. And he was the bench coach for the longest time. So he's never changed. You know what I'm saying? And the same conversations I had with him when I played in 2009 and 10, 11, and 12, I saw Realmuto and Nick Castellanos coming up to him and Schwarber. It's the same feeling. And that comfortability is all a player wants. It's so hard to play baseball in the big leagues, man. It's a tough fucking sport. And it beats you down mentally. But if you have somebody that you feel like is in your corner every single day, like Tomper is, like Dusty is, like K Long is, makes you go out and play and you can perform at a high level, man.
Do you think, because a lot of times, and we've had this conversation more broadly, but a lot of times the impact of managers in the analytical era is sort of sullied, right? People try and act like you could put almost anyone in there, and what's going to happen is what's going to happen. I can remember someone from a baseball operations department saying to me at one point, like, "Oh, a great manager at most is worth 5 wins over the course of the regular season." And we've had that discussion. How we both don't agree with that. But I want to ask you this: see, how much of a difference do you think it makes during October to have a certain kind of manager? Like, how could you feel a difference in either your own performance or the team's performance, depending on who was your manager in a given October?
I think the only time I felt that we needed to make a change was when we were in Milwaukee. When I was in Milwaukee, like when I went to the playoffs in 2007. When I went to the playoffs in 2001, I was 21 years old. Didn't know, just give me the ball, whatever. 2007. I felt like we were underprepared. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we got outmanaged. You know what I mean? Like, and it just was what it was. Whether it was our coaching staff, whatever, the Boston outmanaged us. You know what I'm saying? I could see that difference. Yeah. 2008, when I get to Milwaukee down the stretch, I'm like, damn, man, like it's about to happen again to us. What happened in Cleveland? They ended up making a change. They fired Ned. They hired Dale Swain, who was the bench coach, and we make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was because of the comfortability to be able to go in Dale's office. As soon as they hired him, I went in Dale's office. I said, I'm pitching on 3 days rest. I don't give a fuck. I couldn't have did that with Ned, but me and Dale had that relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So absolutely. That makes a huge difference.
Is there also something where if like the guy's uptight or the guy is nervous or like, because it's interesting, because one thing you just talked about was knowing they're prepared, right? You get comfort for that as a player, knowing like, oh, like maybe my coaching staff's on top of this. They're going to turn over every leaf, right? But then there's also probably something like, oh, like this person's like calm in the biggest moment. Like right, like what kind of is if you could take one trait for a manager to help you in October, what would it be?
It would be the preparedness, but that doesn't happen in October. Like you see that all year.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? So you know what it's going to be like going into October based on shit that happened in April.
Yeah.
And really shit that based on that happened in August and September, because the race is going to get tight. If you make the playoffs, it's going to be wild card. You know what I'm saying? Wild card situations, fucking trying to win a division. So it's going to be like playoff games coming down the stretch. So you're going to get to see if this guy's uptight, if he's prepared. If we lose a game, is he going to freak the fuck out? You know what I'm saying? I remember. I tell you, I don't know if I told you the story. I remember the meeting we had the night before Game 1, in Minnesota at Yankee Stadium against Minnesota in 2009, and I think it was Joe. It may have been Tomper or somebody there. Is like, we just need 11 more wins, and like you go into like, I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, oh fuck, we for sure gonna fucking win. We definitely gonna win 11 more before whoever else is out there. So like those little things of just knowing what it takes to win, you know, can set you over.
Yeah. Well, you did get those 11 wins in 2009. So,
but I'm telling you, when he said that, I was like, because you go and you're so nervous. It's my first time with the Yankees. We having this big meeting. We in the fucking media room, Chad did the video. It's the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck, man, I'm pitching Game 1.
Yeah.
You know, we got to get off. And somebody was like, oh, we only need 11 more. I'm like, fuck, we can do that in our sleep. You know what I'm saying? So like those little type of things in winning organizations, whether it come from the manager or just the culture, changes how you play in October.
Love this conversation. Congrats to the Astros. Congrats to the Phillies on an amazing ride, an amazing season. And congrats to Houston on dominance that just couldn't be denied. And it's interesting, just one final thought on that, on the World Series. See, it's like, you know, there are times where you could break down games in a World Series and say, oh, if you would have done this instead of that, or done that instead of this. I don't think there's any one decision or anything like that you turn to and say like, oh, the Phillies really cost themselves with this. I think, you know, obviously there's, you know, the catch in right center, and there's Alvarez's home run in the 6th inning, and there's
that was a bomb, guys.
Bomb, man.
Jesus Christ.
It was hit like so hard, it almost felt like it was a laser, like a single to center field that just like took off.
Fucking, I mean, that was crazy. But like you said, there wasn't just one thing to point to. I felt like on the Fox broadcast, they were trying to, you know, Dusty's leaving guys in too long and this, and A-Rod and those guys were saying shit, but there wasn't nothing on either side that I saw that could have pointed to a change either way. The Astros have really good pitching. The Phillies bats fucking, I mean, I don't even know if they dried up. Pitching beats fucking good offense all the time. Defense is going to win fucking championships. You know what I'm saying? You got to score to win. And if you can't get hits off Valdez and you get fucking no hit at home, you're going to fucking lose the World Series.
Yes. You need great pitching, great defense, timely hitting. No team hits 300 as a team in the playoffs. Man, no team hits 270
their way to the World Series.
Yeah, they have.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you just know that wasn't going to keep up, guys.
No, exactly.
They absolutely mashed their way. I mean, even that ball Schwarber hit last night was a piss rod. Like,
yes, it was.
That ball, they can hit, and I think Castellanos next year is going to have a better year. That team's going to be really good. But
But the overriding thing is Houston was better.
And the bullpen wasn't deep enough in Philly.
Yes, and Houston's
wasn't deep enough in Philly.
And Houston's bullpen is impossibly deep. And their starting staff is too. They're clearly the best team.
They were the best team.
And that's how you end. Could the Phillies have won that series? Yeah, they're up 2-1 with 2 home games in front of them. Obviously, Game 5 was a game that easily could have gone either way. But what ends up happening is the team that's, you know, the best usually finds a way to make you end up feeling that way about those games.
Especially in 7 games.
Yes, exactly. So congrats to the Astros. Clearly the best team. You know, as we move away, you know, we'll be on top of everything hot stove and whatnot. And as we move away from baseball, we'll dive deeper and deeper into everything that's been going on in the NBA thus far. But for this pod, we wanted to keep it to World Series reaction. And then also just a little quick dip into free agency for baseball, because I almost felt like we were getting our wish see when free agency starts, and already we have a signing, Edwin Díaz, getting a 5-year, $100+ million deal to return to the Mets. They wasted no time locking up the best reliever on the market. What'd you think about that?
I feel like the Mets are going to try to make their team a lot better this year.
Think they're going to do whatever it takes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think they got a little embarrassed, got a little ahead of themselves, and I think they're going to try to make their team better.
Man, having Steve Cohen compared to having the Wilpons, how much? I mean, can you imagine how much better you feel as a Met fan right now? Like, anything is possible when it comes to free agency.
Yeah.
Versus like you were trying to act like a small market team in New York for however long under the Wilpons post Madoff.
I feel like the Dodgers, anything is in play with them right now. Too.
Yeah.
I feel like the Dodgers are more embarrassed than anybody. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
That's a good point. So maybe they just go out and try and
organizational wise, being the best team for fucking the whole summer. Year after year, all these different wins and shit, and every fucking year they come to October. Every year they come to October, guys.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. So I feel like they're gonna do whatever it needs to be done to make their team better too.
I think you're right. I'm interested to see how the shortstops shake out too, just because you got Correa, Turner.
Did Correa have a good year? Is he gonna be like demanding a lot?
I think so. I think he's gonna get it. I forget what his. Let me look up his numbers, but he had a good year. And he's still so young, man, because he came up so young.
He came up really young.
Who's the other? I'm forgetting one big shortstop. Correa, Turner,
Bogarts.
But there's one more I'm forgetting who's a free agent. Ata will know in Texas. Swanson.
Oh, yeah.
Swanson's also a free agent.
I feel like Swanson needs to be. I feel like the Braves need to sign him back.
Yeah, agreed. Correa.
I would love if the Yankees
he was great on the pod. He's great, man.
I would
he's
love.
Great. He's got some grit to him. Yeah. Correa hit 291, 366 OBP, 467 slugging, 834 OPS, 22 homers. He had a really good year.
So he's gonna get. You think he gets a long-term deal from somebody though?
I think if he wants it, yes. But what is long-term for him? Long-term for him might be more like
7 years,
6 or 7. Yeah. I think 7 the most, the absolute most. Especially just based on what we saw last offseason.
Yeah, and out of all of those other shortstops, he don't move the best out of all of those other guys. Maybe the youngest. You know what I'm saying? But
yes.
The back injuries and shit, and he don't move that great. He may be the youngest out of all those guys, but movement, like in the way they look out there, I would take all those other guys over him.
Yeah. It's going to be fun, man. Hot stove already burning. Plenty to do on the hoops front. You guys know the deal. New episodes every Thursday, bonus episodes as well. Make sure you go back. If you have not listened to the episode we dropped last week with Theo Epstein, I cannot recommend it more highly. It's going to inform you about everything you need to know with the rule changes coming up this baseball season. Go back and listen to Dusty and Rob Thompson as well. And we'll have some special guests coming up also. And make sure you're checking out our YouTube page at R2C2. Full episodes are posted there every week now. See? Good stuff, man. Enjoyed you in the Snuggie again.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace.